Thanks for calling FCH, sourcing network for the fastener industry. We'll call you right back.
Greetings. I've heard this is where patriots come to buy their fasteners. I was in the process of helping a friend in the Middle East build a nuclear power plant, and I need some assistance in selecting the proper fasteners. If you could get a hold of me and shoot me an email, you can reach me at georgewbush@hotmail.com or my private address, crawfordstud@gmail.com. Please don't give that one out. This is GW, and I approve this message.
This episode of Fully Threaded Radio contains celebrity voice impersonations. No member of the Fully Threaded Radio or FastenersClearinghouse.com staff or their immediate families or fastener dogs have had direct or indirect telephone contact with any chief executive, past or present, of any country, including the United States of America. Consult your physician immediately in the event of nausea, diarrhea, or vomiting. Your results could vary.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH sourcing network. We've received quite a bit of feedback during the last couple of episodes, and we're actually beginning to believe the billing that this is the finest in online fastener talk radio, so thanks everybody. This is episode 31, and we'll be publishing to the Fully Threaded website on September 8th, 2011. Hey everyone, it's Eric Dudas here, and the theme for today's show is Go West. So very appropriately, the co-host on today's episode is none other than lifetime honorary Texan and fashion maven, Mr. Brian Musker. Doing all right, Brian?
I'm doing fine, thanks. I'm trying to work out where this connection to fashion maven came from.
I haven't pulled that one out in a while. I thought it was long overdue. The cowboy hat and everything.
Right, now I do have the cowboy hat, but I wouldn't say the fashion maven goes quite into it. So, good. Why don't you tell us what the lineup for this show is?
I can do that, amigo, and it's got that west-southwest theme, as you'll soon see. During our first feature segment, we'll speak with sales consultant extraordinaire, Ms. Marie Houghtailing. She operates out of San Diego, California, and she'll be making appearances at the upcoming Pac-West Fall Dinner Meeting and also at the Las Vegas show in October. If you haven't heard Anne-Marie speak yet, you'll want to be sure to attend one of these events, and today's conversation is a great introduction to her approach to working with fastener companies. Then we'll mosey on down to Fort Worth, Texas, for a discussion with our friend Tom Buddenbohn. He's a partner of Technology Component Southwest and also the membership chairman for the NFDA. Tom's an extremely knowledgeable fastener man and an all-round good guy. This was a far-reaching conversation, and I think we might have stretched the envelope a little bit in terms of subject matter on Fully Threaded Radio.
You figure.
Just a little.
Okay.
Speaking of going west, we also caught up with Don Haggerty. He's the president of the commercial division over at Stelfast. He actually spoke to us from the New Jersey branch during this segment, but he was telling us all about the newest Stelfast branch, which will be opening soon in Los Angeles, California. He also discloses the name of the new branch manager. Little cliffhanger there, Bri.
Yeah, a little bit of a coup. Interesting. Okay.
And we get everything kicked off, as usual, with Mike McNulty's Fastener News Report. This time, he leads off with more news on the M&A front in the fastener world. You might have heard already that the Elgin Fastener Group was acquired by an equity group, and on this edition, Mike's report features an interview with Elgin's president, Mr. Jeff Leader. Also, you won't want to miss Mike's back page feature during this edition. It's a real hot one. All that before we go riding off into the sunset.
Yeah, but making sure we come back.
We always do. There's always an episode 32.
Right.
And we have to because we're contractually obligated, because speaking of Stelfast, we are sure glad to have Stelfast on board with us as the title sponsor for today's episode. Stelfast, service you deserve, people you trust. And before we get too much farther into things, Brian, I know everybody wants to know, How's that iPhone doing?
In between charges, it sometimes works. Let's just say I've been paying keen attention to the iPhone 5 news.
I see. Well, it's a good thing you hung on to that old Razor phone of yours. And I have to say, we received numerous emails and Twitter messages from folks who listened to episode 30 who had similar tales of smartphones getting wet and going kaput, including one from multi-talented fastener man J.R. Prowl. He's of JHP Fasteners up there in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah, I know. I got a message from him too. And JR, if you are listening, I hope you'll be much more careful during your early morning reading of the news.
That's right. Or at least stick to magazines until you get back out into the kitchen, man.
Right. Bathrooms are not phone friendly.
No, they're not. And you'll be hearing more from JR around here, it looks like, and he's also becoming something of a fixture in the Twitter fastener world. So make sure to follow JHP Fasteners if you're not already doing that out there on Twitter. But we do appreciate all the feedback and comments, folks, phone-related or otherwise, and you can communicate with us at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. Also, we're out there on Twitter under the handle fullythreaded.
And we're also on Facebook.
You can also get out there on Facebook. You are correct, my friend.
Right.
We like to put links to the various stories that we talk about out there on the Facebook page. So please do get out there, comment if you feel like you need to, and we look forward to communicating with you in any of the myriad ways that are available. You know, another thing before we get too far into the show today, we have plenty of material that deals with the Go West theme, but I'd just like to say that our thoughts are with some of our fastener brethren from the Northeast who were affected by the aftermath of Hurricane Irene. Actually, even more recently, I was talking with some folks who got hit with the aftermath of the tropical storm Lee. More flooding up there in the Northeast, rain-soaked as it is. I was talking to Jay from BMB Fasteners up there in West Patterson, New Jersey, and he and Larry were looking at a pretty big mess with flooding. Their whole facility was pretty much underwater. You know, Jay had a really positive attitude overall, I think, but what an ordeal, and there are several others as well. So we would not wish that on anybody, and heads up, you guys.
That's a really horrific thing to happen.
It is. Well, I guess the reporter getting the mouthful of sea foam, you know, those guys, I guess, kind of deserve it, but for the most part, nobody else does.
Well, that was the Fox News guy. I mean, if it was the Communist News Network, otherwise known as CNN, it wouldn't have been quite so bad. There wasn't Don Haggerty sitting in the dark while you were interviewing him about the Stelfast location.
Yeah, that's true. He mentions that during our conversation on the show. I guess they didn't have any direct water damage at the Stelfast facility, though, but the power was knocked out for a little while.
Wow.
Yeah, the country's like a giant towering inferno movie lately. Now down in Texas, they've got the fires, and where our thoughts and prayers are with everybody who's experiencing hardship through all of this. Heads up, everybody.
Yep.
Through it all, we hope that there's one thing that is constant, and that is that the FCH Sourcing Network is available for you. We are the people who bring you the FCH Sourcing Network at fastenersclearinghouse.com. It's a sourcing network for the fastener industry, and we hope that your team is out there using it. Get out there to www.fastenersclearinghouse.com anytime you need to find a hard-to-find fastener item. Brian and I worked really hard on that, and we'd also be happy to have you listing your inventory out there as well. We talk about it occasionally on the show, probably not enough, but the network has grown from kind of a surplus-related site into just a general sourcing network. And boy, Brian, you've been working really hard bringing a big new user into the fold, isn't that right?
Yes. As of this month, we're welcoming Fastenal as a member.
Yeah, and with about 2,800 retail outlets, man, what a bump to the network that's going to be, huh?
Yeah, it's sort of involved a little bit of rework of some of our thinking of parts, but we've been careful to make it work for everyone.
Well, we'll be talking about that more on the show, and don't be surprised if you hear a little bit more news from Fastenal in the upcoming months. But this is going to be a really big thing and a positive thing for the network and everybody involved. They have quite a bit of what they call non-contributing inventory that they'll be moving with the network, but at the same time, boy, they do a heck of a lot of spot buying, don't they?
They do, and we have tested a number of applications for them for that, so it's going to be pretty positive for most of our members, I think. And the other thing we've been doing is paying a little bit careful attention to the searches coming into our site, especially from Google or Bing. And the reality is people do actually search for domestic fasteners.
You see that more increasingly?
Yeah, I do. And so what we've done is we've added a set of pages into our site aimed really at the search engines, but they're domestic fasteners.
Oh, well, that's really good to know.
Yeah.
And folks, one of the missions that we have is to grab some of this traffic that's coming in through Bing, Google, Yahoo, and so forth, and funnel it to network members. It's just another reason you'll want to be out there participating. Get your inventory out there, we make the phone ring.
Right, and just remember, very, very, very few people who are searching for fasteners really type in surplus, slow-moving, or obsolete when they're looking for a fastener. They just type in a 1/4-inch hex cap screw. So if you happen to have those, then those are your fasteners, and they're listed with us. They're the ones that'll show up when someone searches for those.
Well, keep up the good work, Bri, and thanks for the update.
Oh, well.
Scanning the news horizon in the fastener world, I finally got around to reading the Summer Distributors Link magazine, and there was a story in there by Mr. Joe Greenslade that I think requires a little bit of attention. And the headline is, "Why should metric fastener suppliers and end users specify the ISO standards?" Now, you've done a lot of work cross-indexing the various standards, including a lot with DIN. And, I was really surprised. I did not realize that DIN had been pulled out 10 years ago, 2001, according to Joe Greenslade in this article. Did you see this?
Read it carefully and discussed this very matter with Jerry Stachansky this morning at Beacon. It has always amazed me that the American standards committees attempted to define their own metric standards. We had the so-called the M series standards. It always seemed amazing. Why would they bother? Why not just use the standards that had already been developed and seemed perfectly good overseas? And the point of Joe's article really is that the Americans should and have adopted the ISO standards, which are really the ones in use all around the world. That, I think, is a really, really smart move. Contrary to that, though, is the fact that, as we know, when we measure our own, the searches coming into our site, I would say probably 10 to 1 people in the United States are using DIN numbers in preference to ISO numbers.
Right. Well, I've seen that too, and that's the fascinating thing. I guess that's one of the reasons I was so staggered to realize that it's been 10 years since most of those standards were pulled back. Well, it's a great article. It starts on page 30, and if you haven't read it and you have anything to do with metric, which I guess is most companies that we are talking to right now, very well worth a read. Hey, as long as we're on the subject of pointing out little tidbits of information here and there, last episode we pointed out a video that we found. Well, I got another one, and this one comes to us from portlandbolt.com. We'll put this on our Facebook page so you can link right to it, but it's called simply How a Bolt is Made. And these guys are making heavy structural bolts. In the video, he's got a 48-inch long galvanized structural bolt, and I just found this thing fascinating. It's really well done. Check it out.
Yeah, the Portland Bolt people have got some really good, informative research stuff on their site. And if you're looking up the standards and how they apply and the difference between some of the different grades of steel, they've got some really good stuff on their supporting information on their site.
Yeah, you're constantly using that as a reference, aren't you?
I do. I find them often when I'm doing my searches. I often come up with Portland Bolt. So maybe all the rest of you do too. It's a good site.
And the last story we'll recommend just before we get to Mike McNulty's Fastener News Report comes to us from Mike's own magazine, Fastener Technology International Magazine. If you check out the August-September issue, you'll see a story by Harry Mosier of the Reshoring Initiative, and that's on page 54. This is kind of pertinent for a whole variety of reasons, I guess. You were just mentioning how there's been more and more domestic searches going on through the FCH network. But also, the Pac-West Fall Conference is coming up, and it's taking place in Denver, as we were talking about last episode. And it's, I guess, from September 16th through the 18th. And I'll be there moderating a panel on domestic manufacturing. We're going to be covering a lot of issues related to Harry Mosier's article, the total cost of ownership and so forth. We're doing a little bit of preliminary discussing about what's going to go into this panel discussion. And if you have not yet familiarized yourself with this whole concept, this is a smart thing to check out.
Yeah. You and I actually saw Harry Mosier talk at a Midwest Association conference, a dinner, and in general sort of view is that, there's something like a 12% difference really in the landed price from fasteners that you'd source in China. But based on quality and based on lead times, you can eat that difference in price up quite easily. And so that in many instances, domestic manufactured fasteners can be on a par with ones you import.
Right, that's pretty much the gist of it. He factors some other things in as well, such as risk, and he's also talking a little bit more generally about manufacturing, not just fasteners, but there are definitely some applications that we're going to be talking about. We don't have any thoughts that this theory is going to put importers out of business. It's just not going to happen. But right. The concepts are really, I think, pretty smart to be thinking about, because there are some places clearly where it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, especially for some of our members too.
Oh, exactly. And that was, remembering back to that dinner meeting over there with the Midwest Fastener Association, that was quite a hoedown, huh? I mean, they were teaming up with the heat treaters. Man, what a gala event that was.
Right.
What a laugh fest.
Yeah, I can remember sitting with a group of heat treaters who actually we had a great conversation with, and when they were asking what my connection with the fastener industry was, I pointed out it was none at all. We had a radio show.
Yeah, his eyes were just glazing over.
All right.
Well, those guys don't know how to have a good yuck like we here in the fastener industry do, as we're going to prove here on episode 31, and we sure do appreciate you joining us, everyone. It does mean a lot to us, and we're having a great time bringing Fully Threaded Radio to you. And here for you now is the Fastener News Report.
Thanks, Brian and Eric, and greetings to all the Fully Threaded Radio listeners out there. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report. Over here in northeastern Ohio, my kids are back in school, and our Friday nights are highlighted with high school football games, but I am still focused on the fastener industry. This edition of the Fastener News Report is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. Okay, here's today's top story. Elgin Fastener Group has been acquired by the Audix Group, an investment company that manages nearly $5 billion in equity of small cap and middle market companies. Terms were not disclosed, but the deal includes all fastener manufacturing, distribution, and metal finishing divisions of Elgin Fastener Group. Elgin's facilities are located in Indiana, Tennessee, and Ohio, and Audix is based in Boston, Massachusetts. Audix says that its mission is to partner with management to build long-term value in its companies, which include dozens of manufacturing, industrial, and technology firms, as well as suppliers of distribution, business service, healthcare, building product, and energy solutions. To get some insights on this acquisition, we spoke to Jeff Leiter, president of Elgin Fastener Group, and we'll have that conversation for you and the rest of this edition's Newsmaker headlines right after this.
Volt Industrial Plastics is the source for all your high-quality plastic fastener needs, and customer service is their number one priority. With almost 1 million fasteners in stock and same-day shipping on stock items, Volt Industrial Plastics carries inventory so you don't have to. Volt manufactures everything in-house from over 125 different materials, and they're proud to say 100% of their products are American-made. And of course, custom tooling and in-house bagging is available. Contact Volt online at www.voltplastics.com. Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners.
Shortly after the Audix deal was announced, we were able to speak with Jeff Leiter, Elgin Fastener Group President, and our 5.5-minute interview covers details of the acquisition as well as Elgin Fastener Group's plans for the future. Okay, we are pleased to have Jeff Leiter, President of the Elgin Fastener Group, here with us today to talk about the deal with the Audix Group. Jeff, I've always enjoyed following the developments at the Elgin Fastener Group, how you guys have assembled a good group of divisions here that are based in what I call kind of the middle of the country and focused on making fasteners and distributing them and doing coatings and that. So I was pleased to see this latest deal. I mean, it sounds like a good deal to me. And what I want to ask you and what our listeners want to hear is what does this deal mean for the Elgin Fastener Group going forward, and how did it come about?
Well, hopefully it means a great deal for us. We were currently owned by a company called GFI Energy Group, and they were more focused on the energy side. We were part of Elgin National, and of Elgin National, there were three divisions. There was a fastener group, there was an energy equipment group, and an energy engineering group. We were kind of the stepchild of that organization because they were energy focused. They did support us very well, but obviously the growth side of it was going to be limited in what they were going to do because it wasn't their focus. With the Audix Group, it's a completely different look. They're a financial private equity company that's purchased us, and their idea is to get into a market and grow through organic growth and being aggressive on the acquisition side. So from that standpoint, we're really looking forward to it. We've been a little bit handcuffed with the group before. Great owners did a good job, allowed us to buy a lot of equipment, bring some people in and do some things, but we really couldn't look at the larger acquisition type that we're going to be able to do now.
Good. Any immediate plans that you have on the horizon that you can talk about?
Well, they brought about 10 or 12 companies to me right away. One of the things that they were really interested in, and you know it from being around our industry, is our industry is somewhat fragmented. Mm-hmm. If you look at how many manufacturers they are that are looking for exit strategies right now that are in the marketplace, we've got 10 or 12 that they've teed up. We're just in the early stages with all of them because obviously we couldn't really get going until the deal was closed. We do have one tuck-in acquisition that we were a little further down the road with. We've signed an agreement with that hopefully will happen in the next 30 days, but that's a small opportunity, something that we had in the works before they came along. But as far as going forward, I wouldn't say we're down the road very far with any, but they do want to have one done within 6 months. So
that's pretty immediate. And it seems to me the timing is good. And there's probably, like you said, it is a fragmented industry, and there's probably a lot of opportunities for you there. Now, how about the existing divisions that you guys have? Are they all going to remain intact and operate on their own as they have in the past, or is there going to be any changes or consolidating there?
Yeah, that's a great question. We plan on keeping each organization. Now, we will hopefully continue with the lean strategy that we've been doing. We've got some opportunities at all of our locations. But as you know, we've got the Ohio Rod Products in Versailles. We've got Leland Powell down in Tennessee. We've got Chandler Products in Cleveland along with Precision Screw. And then we have a Best Metal Finishing company in Osgood, Indiana that does plating. And all those companies will remain the same. We have streamlined. We've kind of got, I won't call it a corporate, but it's kind of a corporate group of 5 or 6 of us that kind of head over the entire organization. And then each individual company is operated on its own. We do have put in a new voice over IP phone system. We put in new computer systems at all the locations, and we still have it to implement that down at Leland to kind of streamline the whole group and put a base in place. But they should remain very similar to what you see today, other than we will have a little bit more opportunity to grow product lines within all the organizations than we've had in the past.
It seemed like, adding people here and there. And I know we've got a news item coming up later on the report on a new sales engineer to your Chandler division. You're going to be adding more people?
We've really aggressively in the downturn as the 2008-9 time frame, we aggressively added some sales folks that were out there. There were some really good people out in the marketplace we were able to add. and equipment. But we've added, I think, at the Ohio Rod location, about 20 employees probably in the last year and a half. 4 of them being engineers. Engineers and salespeople are what we're most hungry for right now. And obviously, if you know of any good headermen, let me know. I think everybody in the industry is looking for them. They're very difficult to find, so we've started our own training program for headermen, which is
a lot of special talents there.
It's very difficult to find.
Good. It sounds like a good deal for you guys, and it seems like the timing is right. Was this deal a long time in the making?
Actually, we went through a sales process about 3 years ago, and with the downturn, actually about 2.5 years ago, and with the downturn, it didn't work out. This one, we actually only went through and showed the company to one company, Audex. They were the first ones in, the only ones to look at the company, and we secured a private opportunity for them, and were able to complete it in about a 4 or 5 month period, which is pretty quick.
Oh. Yeah, that is good. Okay, thanks again for being with us. Any final comments?
I appreciate what you guys are doing. If there's anything we can do in the future to help, or you'd like to know more about the companies, feel free to give me a call or look on our website under Elgin Fastener Group.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Thank you.
And that was Jeff Leiter of Elgin Fastener Group. Now let's move on to today's Fastener Newsmaker headlines. In addition to expanding its fastener coating operations, AFT Fasteners has just opened new fastener distribution and sales facilities in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston, Texas. Greenbrier Equity Group, LLC, a private equity firm specializing in the aerospace industry, has just established Align Aerospace from the acquisition of the aerospace hardware division of Annixter International. This rebranded entity is fully operational. EFC International has hired Tim Roach as a research and development engineer responsible for application development and account management in the state of Ohio. Tim will also act as EFC's specialist for wire management products. Chandler Products, a division of Elgin Fastener Group, has appointed Ron Seidler to the position of military sales specialist. Ron will serve as the primary contact for Chandler's military and defense industry fasteners. Universal Punch Corporation has a new coating for fastener inspection gauges. Gauge Guard is an ultra-thin microsurface protective coating that resists wear and protects tools against harsh environments. Next year, the Fastener Training Institute, in partnership with the Industrial Fasteners Institute, will offer Fastener Training Week for the first time ever on the West Coast of the United States. This 5-day intensive version of FTI's Certified Fastener Specialist training program will take place February 27th through March 2nd, 2012 in the Los Angeles, California area. And our final newsmaker headline for this edition is that Volt Industrial Plastics has relocated its manufacturing operations to a larger facility in Yellville, Arkansas. The new 65,000 square foot building is over 2.5 times larger than the former location, and it provides increased production capabilities as well as a doubling of in-stock inventory of plastic fasteners. Finally today, let's turn to the back page of this report for some thoughts on the value of money. We all know by now that government enterprises are naturally addicted to spending other people's cash, but there is another deadly money problem out there that's growing like a weed in the background: the declining value of the U.S. dollar and our government's ongoing efforts to manipulate it. Just over 40 years ago, President Nixon temporarily cut the link between the U.S. dollar and the price of gold in order to smooth out recessions, stimulate the economy, and create jobs. Does any of that sound familiar? In other words, our government is saying that we should let really smart people try to influence the currency value instead of the free market conditions and competition. Cutting the tie to gold created an unstable currency and opened the door for government intervention, which has led to bouts of high inflation, large recessions, artificial successes, and rewards for bubble-producing speculation instead of prudent things such as savings, investment, and innovation. President Bush pushed a weak dollar policy to boost exports and stimulate growth, and President Obama is continuing this at a higher level. So how does one make currency weaker? By printing more of it and putting it into circulation to create easy money. In other words, our government allows itself to do the same thing as counterfeiters do, but under fancy titles such as quantitative easing. The net result is artificial growth, diluted savings accounts, overvalued assets, inflated pricing, and bubble production. Housing, stock, and internet bubbles, for example. Since most eyes these days are currently focused on spending, many fans of government intervention are calling for forced inflation by printing more greenbacks. This is stupid and quite possibly criminal. What should be done instead? Put the gold standard back in place and get the government out of the business of currency speculation and economic manipulation. This has been Mike McNulty bringing you the Fastener News Report. There is still time to get something into the October 2011 issue of Fastener Technology International, which will be distributed in Las Vegas. So be sure to send your news, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
Stelfast is headed west. Don Haggerty joins us to discuss that. Then it's Marie Houghtailing. It's fully threaded. When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stelfast. Since 1976, Stelfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stelfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stelfast today through our website at www.stelfast.com and put us to work for you. Stelfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Are you going to the Pac-West conference in Denver?
I'm not sure.
There will be lots of good education.
Like what?
A panel on domestic fastener manufacturing moderated by Eric Dudas from Fully Threaded Radio.
What else?
A program on social media marketing.
What else?
A class on fastener plating and coating taught by Brian Christensen from South Holland Metal Finishing.
What else?
A tabletop show with 20 exhibitors.
What else?
They have a party room at the Rockies vs. Giants baseball game Saturday night.
Tell me more.
It all happens September 15th through 17th at the Sheraton downtown in Denver.
How can I learn more?
Visit www.pac-west.org or call 714-484-4747.
I'd be nuts to miss the Pac-West conference in Denver. Let's go.
Once you're in this industry, you're not getting out. Good thing there's Fully Threaded Radio. Talk radio for the fastener industry.
This is Bill Johansson from Delta Secondary in Bensonville, Illinois, the fastener distributor source for all specials and secondary operations. And you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
We monitor the Twitter sphere for the latest in the fastener news world, and back on August 20th there was an interesting one that came across, and it said in part that Stelfast is soon to move out to the West Coast. Stay tuned for more. With us now to hopefully give us a little bit more on that story is the president of Stelfast Commercial Division, Don Haggerty. Don, thanks for being with us.
It's my pleasure.
So please fill us in. It was long speculated that Stelfast might be moving out to the West Coast. What can you say?
Well, a couple of years ago, Surrender joined the Pac-West. He asked if he could, even though we didn't have a facility out in the West, and the Pac-West organization graciously let us in as a member, and Surrender made the declaration that we would open up out there. I can tell you that we got through the recession and we're in our expansion mode again at Stelfast, and we've found a location, signed a lease, and are in the process of putting up rack, putting in inventory, and we will open in the LA area in the late fall.
So it will be in the LA area. Now, obviously, conditions being what they are, there's an interesting competitive dynamic going on right now. Where do you see Stelfast fitting into the mix?
Well, Stelfast is a little different than the other competitors. We have what we call our auto division and our commercial division, and we grew out of bringing in auto type truck parts, special parts. We both source from factories and produce in our own factory, and those specialty items and the quality control and the logistics involved in the stock and release business led into the commercial business, and we get the benefit from that. So we feel there's an opportunity for some of the uniquenesses that we bring to the marketplace. And plus, there's the void in California right now with the absence of one of the big historic competitors.
Absolutely. What's the timetable for all of this, Don?
Well, we've signed the lease. The process of building permits in California is an interesting process. Should everything go correct, we will have inventory out there by the end of September and begin very limited operations with certain mill and stock and release programs for specific customers. And full operations won't be until the end of this calendar year.
Now, any truth to the rumors that you'll be making a shift and heading out to the West Coast?
Well, I fly back and forth. I've done it a few times to find the building, to recruit certain people and like that. The branch will be run by a person named Daniel Natividad. Daniel, actually, I hired him back in the 90s when I was president of a company called Reynolds Fasteners, and Daniel's now worked them and for Heads and Threads, been in the industry a long time. He'll head up the branch with a team that we continually build today.
That sounds like a good move. Well, you've been around this game for a long time, and we'll be watching to see how this all fares. We wish you the best of success out there. What can you tell us out in the New Jersey market, which is where you're speaking to us from now?
Well, I'm calling out of my Jersey office, and we just experienced Hurricane Irene. Actually, I'm sitting in the dark right now. We have no power. The biggest issue with the hurricane was the flooding that occurred in the Northeast, and many of the bridges are closed in our area. The river flows down through this area and has set all-time records running over its banks. So it's rather interesting around here. There's still about 1 million people without power in the Northeast.
That's not making it easy for anyone.
No, it's not.
Well, the beauty of radio is that you sound very, very good, and you did well despite the darkness.
Things are okay. Things are okay. We look forward to getting out in the sunshine of California and opening that facility. Daniel's already assembled 3 or 4 key players, and we feel we got a good team to open up.
Well, we really do appreciate you sharing some of the details on that. We'll be watching Twitter and other news outlets for more details on that. And Don Haggerty of Stelfast, we sure do appreciate you joining us today.
Okay, well, thank you.
If one thing holds true for all fastener companies, it's that increased sales translates into increased success. Joining us now is someone who has a few thoughts on that subject. She's sales strategist and consultant Marie Houghtailing, and she's joining us now from San Diego, California. Welcome to Fully Threaded Radio, Anne-Marie.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, it's great to have you. And I'm sure you have a few tips for our listeners, but I wonder if we could just get things rolling with perhaps an introduction. Tell us about yourself and about your company, the Houghtailing Group.
Sure. I launched my company a couple of years ago in probably the worst economic climate of my lifetime, January 2009. So it was superb planning. It was not by design, in fact. Like a lot of Americans, I was let go of my job. They had lost a major contract, and I was a national sales trainer at the time. And I had a fantastic job that I dearly loved, traveling all over the country. And basically, I went out and drank my own Kool-Aid. And I went and did all the things that I teach people how to do and how to create a dollar out of thin air and create your own opportunities. And I launched my own company, and very, very rapidly. It's worth saying that, I'm a single mother who also takes care of my own mom. And so it was not a hobby. It was something that I had to do really rapidly. I was a private contractor. I didn't have a severance package. So I had to go from zero to clients within a very short amount of time.
Wow.
And so I partnered with the University of San Diego. I approached them about launching an Institute for Sales and Business Development, because one of the things I'm very passionate about is most academic institutions do not focus on sales and business development, which really is the one single thing that you absolutely have to know in business in order to sustain yourself and grow. It is the single only revenue generating activity in a business is selling. And yet academically, there's very little attention paid to it. And so that's really been sort of my sweet spot. I work with non-traditional sales sectors, as well as entrepreneurs or mid-sized companies who have never had the benefit or sort of education in sales and business development, and teach them how to both create a strategy behind how they're going to go after selling, as well as the tactics therein to execute that plan and start making more money.
We're going to have the website for your company up on our Facebook page, and we'll throw that out towards the end of our conversation just so people can get more information on all of this. But how have you come to work with the fastener industry, and exactly what is your affiliation with the fastener industry?
That's a great question. How did I land here? People ask me that all the time.
Well, hey, we're all asking ourselves that.
Yeah, exactly. What is this chick from San Diego doing telling us about nuts and bolts? And, it's a good question. And one of the things I want to say, start out by saying is, I often use the fastener industry when I'm speaking at events and say, I teach people who are selling the tiniest product you can probably sell in America, which is, a screw or a nut or a bolt and then I teach at the other end people who are selling the most sophisticated financial products you'd ever want to imagine. And people think, well, how do you do that? That doesn't make any sense. But the truth is, it's not really about the product. It's about the process. And it's really about understanding these steps in the sales process that determine whether or not you're going to make more money. And I came to the fastener industry because a student came to USD, took one of my classes, ended up bringing several members of her team to that class, and then introduced me to Pac-West. And I became a speaker with Pac-West and started doing their dinners, and I did their retreat in Tahoe and did some training for them. And really, the fastener industry, like a lot of industries who have sort of grown into themselves, did not really design a sales and business development strategy. They were just either led by their founder, who was probably a great salesperson when they launched their company, or they've kind of just collected experience along the way. But the idea of a streamlined, consistent system that is replicable, that you can train other people with, has not really been something that's been necessarily developed in the industry, as I understand it, by those who contact me. So this is sort of a new, it really is a new idea in some ways to focus on this and start training people on really how to sell, how to pick up the phone, how to follow up, how to close a deal, what to do when people are beating you up on price and things like that.
Okay, all of that makes sense. So let's cut to the chase. Are there any specific things that fastener distributors are doing in general that we can improve upon that'll really boost sales, or what's your current view on that?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's deeply tied into prospecting and reaching out rather than answering the phone. I think a lot of people, a lot of companies are suffering from this sort of passive kind of model where they're following up on leads that either come through their website or when the phone rings, they're basically order takers. And I think shifting that model from an order taker to one who's actually creating brand new relationships, deepening the current relationships, and creating more opportunity within the context of the accounts they already have are an enormous start.
Yeah, it's funny that you use that term order taker because just in casual conversation, I hear that all the time. You always hear sales teams kind of compared. Oh, those guys are real go-getters, and oh, those guys are just order takers. I bet you just with economic times being what they are, you're seeing a whole lot more order takers wondering, well, geez, what do I have to do to become one of that other group?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I will say, I want to be very clear about this. This is not unique to the fastener industry. I mean, I have private wealth management clients who have led a very comfortable life taking orders. I mean, basically meeting people and just sort of business coming to them. And for the first time in their perhaps 25-year career, they're having to pick up a phone, develop a relationship out of nowhere. And I think the answer is, in terms of how you make that shift, is number one, it's got to be conscious. It doesn't just occur. And it's a little painful. I'm not going to lie. Everybody, even tough fastener people do not like rejection. None of us do. It's not fun. And you've really got to learn how to take it and move on and create a strategy whereby you are following up regularly and you are creating brand new relationships and you're reaching out to your current account base. Because the truth of the matter is, if you're going to become precious about that, what I can promise you is your competition will not be, and they will happily follow up behind you. And those are really the people who are not only sustaining, but growing and capturing greater market share in the current economy.
Okay, so let's come back to the question, though. Are there any specific tips that you find yourself over and over throwing out that could really help, particularly in the fastener industry? I mean, things are tough. Mm-hmm. Skills are light, let's say. Mm-hmm. What do we do about it?
Well, a couple of things. To get back to what I was saying, you certainly need a prospecting strategy. And I think you have to come together with your team, whatever the number is in that team, and make some strong decisions about what is your sales strategy and who is going to do what, and are they trained to do it? Are they competent at doing it? And what are your weaknesses? And to really sit down and have a very honest meeting about where you're currently sitting in your business and where you want to get. And what do you want to get and who do you want to get? And once you create that hit list, really creating a system where you're tracking your data so that you can pay attention to how many deals you're converting and how much calling you realistically have to do and how much reaching out you realistically have to do to create a new client. And what exactly do you need to say? What are the most common objections you get and how do you currently respond to them? And really asking for business and asking for opportunity. I think that that's something that is missing across the board in all industries, is this idea of asking. There's this thought that if you have a relationship with somebody, they're going to naturally give you the business, and that simply isn't the case. And you may not even know all of the business that exists with a current client. So I think one of the things is, outside of merely just sort of getting together with your team and creating a strategy and figuring out what your strengths and weaknesses are, it's to actually go through your current book of business and start asking people, do you have all of their business, and what do you have to do to get that business? What event must occur for you to capture a greater portion of their business?
And don't you think that that's one of the great things that associations provide, that sort of opportunity?
Absolutely.
I always do.
Yeah, absolutely. And really that again is even, associations, it's really using your association to your advantage and understanding it is there as a professional development tool to help you grow your business, but it's up to you to really use it as that tool. Otherwise, you're just going in, eating cheese cubes and drinking wine, which is good too.
And beer.
But, you might want to be squeezing a few dollars out of those events as well.
Absolutely. Now, I don't know if you're aware, but here in the Midwest and a little farther east, there's a trend of private bottled beer being used as a ploy to get information out of prospects. But I guess that's a subject for another episode.
Hey, however you get there, if it's private bottled beer, that's good too. I like it. I'm going to write that down right now because I do work in Chicago. I'm going to start bringing private bottled beer.
Now, you mentioned price, and are you seeing out there in the market a lot more pressure, just people getting beaten down on price? And do you have some special advice for people on how you contend with that these days?
Well, there are a couple of issues I want to bring up on price. One is, people will say, well, it's a commodity, and people just go with the cheapest provider. And my pushback is always, so then all the clients you have, you are currently the cheapest provider with. And they will say, well, no, of course not. So apparently that is not true, right? I mean, by extension of logic, that's not obviously true. I think that every industry is being battered by price, and it's really about how you connect acquisition with ownership, which, that's a whole class in and of itself in terms of why you should choose a specific provider and what that buys you beyond the actual transaction, the check you write. It's the ownership, it's the service and all these other things, but you have to understand how to craft that objection or that response to that objection. You can't just say, well, we're better, we provide better service. That in and of itself is not a compelling reason to go with a more expensive provider. And I also think that I see a lot of challenges with people who will go in to capture new business and go in at the lowest possible price, and they're making nothing on their margins. I mean, it's because they're trying to capture that business, but then that's how they've established that relationship, and then they just continually have to push this rock uphill to try to get this new client to come back to a real price. And so that's not really a strategy I advocate. It's not one I use myself. And I think it's a tough way to go about business. And you have to be very, very cautious of moving in that fashion, because you might get that one deal, you might get that one transaction, but future transactions are going to be equally hard to get at the price that's necessary for you to make money on your margins.
Right. Now, you're going to be doing some speaking with Pac-West. You mentioned before, that was kind of how you came into the fastener world. You'll be doing some more. You'll also be out at NIFS West, the Vegas show coming in October. We'll talk about those specifically. But before we get to that, the Houghtailing group, you have a couple of programs that you do, and what is your overall methodology when you come to work with a company? How do you approach any given problem? It sounds like you definitely have a certain way that you look at things. What is it?
A couple of things. And what I would say first and foremost is, one, it's a teachable, trainable skill. And I think anybody can learn how to do it, any industry, any age. And I know because I've done it. I've trained thousands of people. And the other issue is my own personal approach. And I would say first and foremost, I do really highly customized training. And what that means is I spend some time interviewing clients and pushing ideas back and forth so that we craft something that's directly addressing their particular pain and their weaknesses to make them stronger. I don't believe in sort of out of the box kind of training that's generalized. I think that when you're really talking about very drilled down training, you really need to be addressing the specific issues of a particular industry or a particular company and where they are in their lifespan as a business. It's quite different when I have a lot of clients right now who've been in business for 25, 30 years and are just now creating a sales model. That's not unusual at all. And that's a very different discussion. And those are very different issues than a company that's been around for 18 months.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that particularly in the fastener industry. Sounds like you have your work cut out for you, but it's a big market, so I guess that's a good thing for you.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a sales trainer. I mean, there's no better business than teaching people how to generate more money. I don't think anybody argues that would be a valued thing in their business. So it's a little easier for me right now than it is for some companies.
Yeah, it's like the old adage, you give the guy a fish he can eat for a day, teach him to fish. My problem is I always wish I could just be a fisherman and teach people how to fish. It'd be more fun. But you have very obvious passion for what you do, and I've talked with people who have attended your presentations, and they all agree you do such a wonderful job of inspiring, and you provide an excellent practical instruction. Where do you get the drive for all of this? I mean, you kind of gave us a little thumbnail as to what some of your motivation is, but can you embellish?
Sure. I would say that there are a couple levels for me. And one is I meet really brilliant people all the time, great business people who are not necessarily academically trained, but I think that they really are the engine of sort of the economy right now. They're the risk takers, entrepreneurs, small to mid-sized businesses. And I think that they didn't learn this one little component. And it's, quite honestly, it really isn't necessarily all that complex, but it is critical. And so for me, the idea of if you can figure this piece out, basically you don't go hungry. And it's the difference between you sustaining your business and potentially losing your business. And in this particular environment, at this particular time in my life, I do feel deeply passionate about that work, and not to overstate its importance, but I do think there's nothing more exciting when you turn it around for somebody who maybe hasn't, a business owner, for instance, who hasn't been paying themselves for 18 months and then suddenly starts hitting goals and are paying themselves for the first time. That's pretty exciting work. I mean, if that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will. And that's really what drives me, because I understand it. I am them. I'm you. I'm like everybody else. I have to wake up every single day of my life and create $1 out of thin air. So I understand what a daunting task that is.
And it can be a daunting task. Well, good thing there's people like you out there, because just listening to you, I'm actually looking forward to getting back on the phones later today.
Good. I've inspired you to get to work.
And that's saying something, believe me. Well, the Vegas show is, I guess, prom day for the fastener industry, and you're going to be there this time around. It's happening the 19th through the 21st, and you'll be speaking on behalf of the Pacific West Fastener Association, and then you'll be in the booth with the Pac-West on the 20th, so folks can get out there and meet you. Do you have a theme yet for your presentation?
Yes, and I should be clear, actually. I'm actually speaking for the national conference, and then I will be sitting with Pac-West. So just so I'm clear about who I'm there for.
Got it.
Who's hiring me for what. But yes, we are going to be talking about the culture and discipline of sales. And so that would be organizationally and dealing with how your particular organization creates a sales culture. And that's what we're going to be addressing. And then I'll be hanging out with Pac-West and discussing sort of prospecting and how their membership is really moving towards committing to their members to generate revenue and teach them how to do that. And that's going to become a bigger part of sort of the Pac-West mission. And I'll be there with them discussing that.
And before that, on September 27th, the Pac-West Fall Dinner Meeting's coming up, and you'll be presenting there as well.
Correct. I'm going to be talking about creating $1 out of thin air, which we were just discussing a moment ago. And that really is very deeply tied to prospecting and how you go about that and how you create new money.
Special guest Timothy Geithner be there?
Potentially. Yes. So I'm quite magical that way. And so I'm going to teach everybody how to fasten their own magic wand and start creating money out of thin air as well.
This sounds like a do not miss event. If you're out there on the West Coast, get out to the Pac-West Fall Dinner Meeting, folks. I tell you, that's something I've always wanted to know a little bit more about.
Absolutely. Well, you should come too. It's just a little jaunt for you. Hey, I'm worth it.
Well, I'll see you in Vegas for sure. We'll have to talk about that dinner meeting. Well, as I said, we're going to put your contact information up on the Fully Threaded Facebook page, Anne-Marie. But can you share with us your website so people can get in touch with you?
Yes, my website is thehoughtailingroup.com, and I realize my last name Houghtailing is a tad difficult, so I'm just going to spell that. It's HOUGHTAILING, so it's thehoughtailingroup.com.
And everybody knows how to Facebook, so go to Fully Threaded. We'll have the link for you right out there, folks. Well, Anne-Marie Houghtailing, you certainly have convinced me that your talks coming up are going to be very worthwhile events, and your approach is an exciting one. There's no doubt in my mind that you can help people advance their sales. I sure do appreciate you joining us for Fully Threaded today.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you in Vegas.
We head to Texas next with Tom Buddenbohn of Technology Components Southwest. Thanks for joining us, everyone. It's Fully Threaded. When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stelfast. Since 1976, Stelfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stelfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stelfast today through our website at www.stelfast.com and put us to work for you. Stelfast. Service you deserve, people you trust. Hi everybody, Eric here. Brian and I have been talking a lot about big changes coming to the FCH sourcing network, and I hope you'll keep an eye on what we're doing. Soon, you'll see a new look and feel when you go to fastenersclearinghouse.com. But the real power of FCH is the network behind the website. And that's why we're inviting every company in the fastener industry to join the FCH sourcing network. FCH is used by hundreds of fastener and industrial companies every business day to search and source fasteners. Members are making sales on a continuous basis from inquiries flowing through the network. It's a stream of business that's growing all the time, and we hope you'll join in. That's why we'll soon announce a new membership level that will be available to every company in the fastener industry at no charge. We know you'll get the benefit, and so will the rest of the industry. To faithful FCH users who have been with us for years, we appreciate your participation, and we'll have some new features for you too. Thank you for helping us grow. Keep your eye on the FCH Sourcing Network and watch FastenersClearinghouse.com for details coming soon.
This is Jason Sandifer with Global Fastener News, the leading news source in the fastener industry. Check us out online at globalfastenernews.com. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Anyone who's listened to Fully Threaded for any amount of time has heard our next guest a time or two. He's a partner in Technology Component Southwest and also the membership chairman of the NFDA. Tom Buddenbohn, welcome to Fully Threaded once again.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian. Good to be on with you guys.
You doing all right down there?
Doing well. We're suffering from extensive heat and dry weather, but it's Texas and it's summer and it's supposed to be both.
Now you're in Fort Worth, right?
We're in Fort Worth, Texas, yes.
Well, we've been hearing a lot about the temperatures down there, but you got a few things to cheer about, don't you?
Got a few things to cheer about. Our business climate has been relatively solid. I think we're very fortunate here in Texas. We have a very robust oil and gas business, primarily exploration and drilling and production and transportation. So since manufacturing may be a little bit softer than we're accustomed to, definitely the oil and gas has brought tremendous employment into North Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we also have, I reside in Arlington, which is between Dallas and Fort Worth, and we've had about the only city in North Texas that's actually had a sales tax revenue increase, and we can thank Jerry Jones and his Cowboys and his stadium for much of that, because they're playing games on Sundays, I think maybe 10 times a year, and they fill up the hotels, they fill up the restaurants, they fill up the small airports with private jets and private planes coming in, and that's been very good for our area. And when the Cowboys aren't playing, we're playing soccer tournaments and large concerts and things like that, and they do the same thing for the region. So,
is this a case where one of these municipal bond issues that are kind of hand in hand with a private sports team is actually succeeding, would you say?
I would say it's succeeding in a big way. Jerry takes credit for the $1.1 billion stadium, but being a resident of Arlington, I can tell you I was one that said yes to the $300 million bond issue that the city of Arlington put up for the stadium. So it was a community effort, and it seems to be doing well.
I want to get back to your the drilling of the gas particularly, because I remember one time when must have been about 5 years ago, I think there was a lot of drilling for gas going on actually between Dallas and Fort Worth. All around there you'd see people drilling. And then it stopped. Is that coming back, or is the drilling you're talking about, is that up in North Texas as opposed to around where you are?
Well, Dallas-Fort Worth still has quite a bit of drilling. This it's called the Barnett Shale. It's actually mostly on the Fort Worth side. There's 3 or 4 counties that run from Denton, Texas, maybe 40 miles north down about 50 or 60 miles south of Fort Worth, and then west another 40, 50, 60 miles. And they're still drilling regularly. You'll see a drill rig go up. It'll stay up for 2 weeks. It'll disappear, and 2 months later it's back on the same pad. And today, as I understand it, they can go down as deep as they need to, and they can tie knots with the drill pipe.
Right.
They literally can bend it and shape it any way they want to reach into a pocket of gas.
So this has had, or having at the moment, a fairly big impact. I was reading that there's somewhere in West Texas, there's one of these big oil shale regions that they're a little bit like what they're digging into in Canada, and they were. There's a lot of problems associated with the whole fractionating process, but is that something that's coming up to give a little bit of a boost for the Texas economy?
Absolutely. There's a play that's as they call it, a play fairly west of here, also outside of San Antonio. Between San Antonio and Corpus Christi is a large region of gas, and with the fracking process that's come under such scrutiny, my understanding is that they're able to pull gas out economically, where in the past they couldn't do this economically because the fracking process was not developed yet. That's my understanding.
Right, and there's a question as to whether I think they pump very high pressure, high temperature water, and I think the question is whether it goes into the aquifers and things, isn't it?
I know that's always in dialogue, and again, as a resident of the region and having a lot of that business based here, it's in our papers every day, it's in our news every day. My understanding is that most of the water that's injected into the well is then extracted from the well. There was a bit of a PR stunt this week with one of the executives actually drinking the fracking water, the fracking fluid.
Yeah,
good one.
On the news.
Yeah.
And, president of Halliburton or somebody who's been in business. But it collects. You see this water in ponds next to the wells. It doesn't look horrifically bad, but I'm not sure I will drink it. But at the end of the day, the Barnett Shale, as I recall, when it really launched, was going to bring something in the neighborhood of $10 billion to the Dallas-Fort Worth, more the Fort Worth side of the economy than the Dallas side. But it's been a great source of employment and revenue, and landowners are getting royalties every month, and it's windfall money, but it's certainly needed in these more challenging times.
And what does all this drilling mean for Technology Components Southwest?
From our business perspective, at the moment, it's really not got a big impact in terms of drilling. We do have some customers that provide or manufacture instrumentation that interprets what comes out of the well from information technology of what's downhole in the well and things. But it's not a huge impact. We're working on a project right now in the fracking process, and we're learning with our supplier. It's not exactly a fastener, but it's called a frac ball, which is used in the fracking process to hold open the fractures. So once they've drilled and they've pumped this high pressure water in, actually fractured the shale formation, then they apparently load these very, very hard plastic balls in place, which hold the fractures open and allow the gas to escape. So I think we're probably still 6 months to a year from seeing any substantial revenue from that. But a little aside from the fastener, but it becomes a small component, and one of our manufacturers is developing a product line.
Oh, cool.
To meet that need.
There have to be some fastener companies down your way that are benefiting from all this, though, right?
Absolutely. More the people that are supplying the nuts and bolts and larger diameter fasteners. Right. One of the things with our business is we have been primarily small diameter product, typically nothing over a half of an inch. In a lot of small number 6, number 8, number 10, quarter 20 parts, quarter inch parts. We tend to be more in small appliances, small electronics, everything from as small as mobile phone parts, up through anything that would go up to about a half an inch. So.
And how's the market down your way these days?
It's okay. It's not perfect, not as good as it could have been in the past, but like I said earlier, we're fortunate. I think Texas has had a little bit of an insulation from the rest of the economy because of the diversity of industry. We've got the oil and gas. We've got a huge defense business here, from defense electronics all the way up to aircraft. So I think we've been not pigeonholed into one type of industry like some other areas of the country. So when it's down, the whole region is down. I think our unemployment's still about 8.5%, but we continue to have an influx of people coming here because there are jobs available.
Yeah, you keep hearing about it.
Right, and also you have a much less intrusive state government too.
We do have a less intrusive state government. We still do not have an income tax, which is a nice thing.
All eyes seem to be on Texas now, of course, because of your governor, Mr. Perry, throwing his hat into the ring. What are you hearing about that? What's the sentiment down your way?
The sentiment, I think the conservative, the business owners, and the more conservative think it's a great thing. And I think the general population of Texas has been pretty happy with Rick Perry. As I said, the job market has been better than most of the country. The economy has been better than most of the country. So I think it's a good thing. I'm not sure I'm ready for him to leave Texas, personally.
Yeah, good point.
Okay.
It's too bad more Illinois governors haven't run for president, Brian?
Right, yeah. That's all we need.
Better you say that than me.
Yeah, well, we've got a bad track record with senators, so we won't speak about that. But, man.
That's right.
I don't know about on the governor's side.
Right.
Well, let's get back to fastener business then for a little bit. Do you see anything coming on the horizon, perhaps, that might be impacting the market, or is there anything you've got your eye on?
At this point, our footprint of our business footprint not only includes the Southwest, but we have an office in St. Louis and a relatively new office, a business that we acquired in Chicago. So our footprint, our vision is 8 or 9 states down the center of the country. Each has its strengths and each is having its share of issues. So we've had a strong first half of the year. I think the month of August for us is going to be a little bit soft, but I think September is going to be back up. We're seeing, backlog is pretty good. So I think we're going to have a good year. But and I think from most of the local distributors and the people, selling product in our market, I think everybody's going to be reasonably happy, particularly in the Southwest.
Well, that's encouraging. Now, changing the subject a little bit, I know you are one of these guys who's kind of jumped into the pool of social media to a certain extent. I see out there on Twitter from time to time. What are your early impressions on all of this?
I've been happy kind of entertaining myself with Twitter. I said something today with for the NFDA, a new offering for new membership. But some of the times my Twitter comments are usually in the evening when I'm watching a baseball game or a football game or a basketball game and getting kind of irritated with the referees or my own team. So
yeah, that's par for the course these days.
Yep. I will comment that the Rangers are in first place, and although the last few days they seem to be uncomfortable with having a 6 or 7 game lead, so I think their lead as of today is about 2 games. The Boston Red Sox came to town and seemed to decide they wanted to own the Texas Rangers this week. So thank goodness they're gone, but the LA Angels are in town, and hopefully the Rangers will find their way back on track because that is the team they need to stay ahead of at the moment. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good to have some alternative baseball views. You know, we're always hearing Mike McNulty talk about the Indians, and so I think people are probably welcoming your comments with open arms, Tom.
There you go. And we did play for the World Series last year. Unfortunately, we came up on the short end with San Francisco as our opponent, but, God bless them, the Yankees weren't here, so I was quite happy the Yankees weren't here.
Well, getting back to Twitter then for a minute, you were all over Twitter, I remember, when the Mavericks were in the championship. That was kind of fun watching some of your tweets come out there. I could almost feel the excitement as you were tweeting away.
You could feel the excitement of my opinion of the officials, and it probably got a little more verbose as my next beer went down. So, I had the good fortune of not traveling for a part of that series, so I was typically at home and enjoying us playing against 6 people. Well, maybe 4, maybe 4 with the refs. But back to social media, the Twitter thing is fun. The LinkedIn group is growing with the NFDA. I think there's about 285 members on LinkedIn in the LinkedIn group for NFDA. The Facebook group, I'm not sure what the numbers are, but I think there's about 50 or 55 people following the NFDA on Facebook.
Well, I'd say LinkedIn is definitely getting some traction with a group of users in the fastener industry. I don't know so much about Facebook, though. The jury's way still out on that one, in my opinion.
I agree. And just a plug for Fort Worth, and somebody might want to clarify this, but I went to a LinkedIn seminar a couple of years ago here in Fort Worth, and my understanding is LinkedIn was started at TCU here in Fort Worth.
Is that right?
That was what they told us.
I never heard that, but you could be right.
Well, that brings up another good question, and you're probably a good guy to comment on this because you are, let's say, in the early stages of middle age, and you've kind of gotten used to operating without social media, and now here you are experimenting with all of it. Do you find yourself more and more becoming distracted as you have to multitask? I mean, is it affecting you? I mean, I'm asking you this because I feel that way sometimes. I feel like my attention span has been damaged a little bit by just all the multitasking that we do with the constant influx of incoming messages from all these sources.
I agree with you because I explained to guys that work for me today that sales guys in the past, you typically found a hotel with a bank of payphones at 20 years ago and a phone credit card at $1 a minute, and you returned your calls and you called your office and you did what you had to do. And now we can do that while we're driving down the interstate, but that phone rings all day, and in the background chimes in every email you get, and then anybody that sends you a text or a Facebook. So yes, absolutely, it is quite distracting from my perspective, but you learn to adapt. And so if you're able to juggle a few things in your hands at one time, then I think it's okay. But I think some people would be completely overwhelmed if they're very focused and trying to stay on a task.
And then the text messages while you're talking to someone else and they stop paying any attention to you while they worry about what's just come into their phone.
Exactly. Or they're talking to you and texting you at the same time.
Yeah.
And all this is going on, and Fasteners Clearinghouse members are complaining because we're no longer supporting fax.
Right.
So there you have it. Well, as a multitasker yourself, you're also wearing the hat of the membership chairman of the NFDA, and you've got a few things coming down the road for that part of your world too, don't you?
Absolutely, and thanks for asking about that. I'm happy to record or to report that NFDA is strong. We are adding a few members. I think we've added 7 members this year, which we acknowledged all in the first meeting back in Florida. I know at least 2 more coming on in the next week to 10 days. One is a small distributor in Oklahoma City, one of our neighbors, just a few hours away. And the other is a company that has established a presence here in the States a couple of years ago out of Northern Europe. So I think they're both going to join in. Both of them have been offered the latest offering from the NFDA for new members that we just decided on a week or so ago. that if you join the NFDA between now and the end of September, you will pay your 2012 dues, but you'll get the balance of this year as a member. So you're going to get effectively 16 months membership for the price of 12. So you'll be invited to all of the things. One of the ways that it's going to really be an interesting fall meeting for us, we've combined our fall meeting in Las Vegas on the Wednesday before the show opens, and NFDA is going to have 2 presentations to hopefully help distributor owners, really all owners, I guess. Both of them are business education. One is a negotiation seminar dealing with best practices and negotiating skills. There's actually 2 sessions of that that are a little bit different. And then the second presentation is geared towards executives, and it's managing supply chain interruptions or disruptions. So anything that could stop the flow of goods and how to handle that, how to manage that. So I'm really excited about both of those, but I'm more excited about the supply chain disruption presentation and dialogue.
Is there going to be a special module on piracy in that?
I don't think so.
I was actually reading an article the other day about, we were having some fun with that in the past episode, is why I bring it up. But every time I see it, it's just hard to believe that it's really a factor. But, man, it is. If you're in the transport business, you take it very seriously.
Yeah. Additionally, the NFDA is going to have a presence at the Brazilian Fastener Fair in Sao Paulo. There's a contingent, I think, of about, I think there's 10 or 12 people going, and a handful of companies are planning to attend. Rotor Clip, Brighton Best, Nylock, Specialty Bolt and Screw, and Metric, Fastener, LEP, and Elgin Fastener Group, I think so far have at least made verbal commitments. So that's going to be interesting. It'll open up and promote trade with Brazil, both export trade for us and possibly some supply side trade. I'm not going to attend that show, but I attended the Stuttgart show, and I was really impressed with the way the show operated and ran, and the communication and the pace it moved at, and the amount of information at the end of the day, the amount of information that we all came away with.
You can never really tell where those kinds of connections are going to lead.
No, you can't. That's exactly right. And I know in our case, in our business, I happen to miss a supplier that has come on as a very strong supplier since February to our business. I wasn't aware there was some dialogue going on a low level, and then suddenly we've got a substantial piece of business directly in front of us with a European supplier that I didn't know we were even in discussion with. So,
bingo.
Another thing that the NFDA has done, the NFDA has completely refreshed and revamped the website to make it easier to navigate.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so there've been some work on that, and in our opinion, as a board and as a membership guy who says, okay, I want to direct somebody to the website, I like when they can see a lot of information in just a few minutes, and if they want to join, to make it very easy to send off a request for information, or to pull up an application, fill it out, and send it back. It doesn't happen very often, but occasionally, and usually it generates a few questions for the NFDA staff or for myself. And if we answer people properly, we get some new members.
Yeah, good job to Mark and Sean over there for getting that job pulled down.
Absolutely. There's another lady over there, Carrie, who's also been quite helpful with that. So it's a good team with three people behind that. I understand. I got an email this morning that Link Magazine is going to run an article on the strategic direction of the NFDA. I haven't seen the details and all that, but I know that's coming up in one of the near-term Link Magazine issues. I know there's a hot topic in the rep discussion, and at this point in time, that there is still ongoing dialogue as to whether reps will fit well into the NFDA and where the benefit is for all parties. So that is in dialogue. Going back to the very beginning of NFDA, apparently they were it's not available for membership. There's been enough dialogue and questions and requests that it is on the dialogue and is on the agenda to have further conversations at the board meeting in October. So at this point, I can't tell you which way they're going to go. Honestly, I don't know, but I know there will be continued dialogue. My gut feeling is there'll be some compromise to allow reps in, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, that actually had some sort of spirited commentary. I was following that on the Fastener blog when you put that up there.
And I personally have a soft spot. I had a rep business. I still technically have a rep business with only one line, but even in our business today, we have a few manufacturers that we have representative agreements with. I certainly have a soft spot for an understanding of the rep business and why reps are key.
Well, there are valid arguments to be had on both sides of it, and it's good to know that it's being discussed at least, and we'll see where they come down. Well, thanks for bringing us up to speed on that. See, you can always count on Fully Threaded. All these discussions, we always have some kernel that you can pull away, right?
There you go.
Well, you should know that, Tom. You've been a great supporter of the show. We sure do appreciate that. You're always one to come up with some comments and some kind words, and we really have appreciated that over the last year.
Well, thank you.
And as a longtime listener, you know that we have to ask you the perfunctory beer question, and I have one for you that I was thinking about ever since I went fishing down in San Antonio. Actually, I was way south, but I flew into San Antonio. Also the site of a previous NFDA fall meeting, if I recall correctly, or spring meeting it was.
Spring meeting.
Yeah.
Rainy spring meeting. Yeah.
Yes. And I noticed that the Pearl Beer Brewery was located down in San Antonio.
Yes, it is.
Now, is that a big brand down there?
It is not a big brand. My understanding is the Pearl Brewery had been open for many years, had closed. My understanding is it has reopened. My opinion, it wasn't very good beer then, so I don't see any reason to drink it today.
You're not going to suddenly change your beer buying preference.
That's right. Not going to change my beer mind. So.
Okay.
Don't tell me you're an Anheuser-Busch man.
No, Lone Star.
With an office in St. Louis, I'm still not an Anheuser-Busch man. I'm a fan of small, privately owned, family-owned breweries that make good beer. We have a great small brewery right here in Fort Worth, Texas. So I can get all the variety I want here, and if I want to change, I can shift down to Houston or Austin and pick up some beer from one of those locations.
I thought you'd be required drinking in Fort Worth was Lone Star, isn't it?
No, Lone Star's right there in my book with Pearl.
Oh, no. See,
wow.
Brian, all of our illusions are being shattered. Last episode, we learned that Coors is no longer in favor in Denver. Now this.
Wow. And, when I first arrived in Texas, I was taken over to Fort Worth, and I had to drink Lone Star beer, and they took me to the Billy Bob's. Is that right? Stockyards.
Absolutely.
That was considered to be what anyone who had just arrived in Texas in 1984 had to do. And I had to buy myself a cowboy hat, or it was bought for me.
Well, it's important. On a day as hot as today, as 59 or 60 days, a cowboy hat is good as better than a baseball cap. So, it may not be your style, but, the doggone thing works well.
Well, I can imagine you out there driving the roads on your sales calls wearing your hat and, of course, not drinking in the car anymore, but in the old days, and off into the sunset you go.
Exactly.
Wow, when I first arrived in Dallas, our manager from Fort Worth took me over to Fort Worth, and I was just out of Sydney. And so when we went driving to Billy Bob's, he asked me, so what do you want to drink? And I said, oh, no, I can't drink. I'm driving. He said, he's a roadie. That's it. Do you want a roadie?
Yeah.
I had no idea what a roadie was. Coming from New Zealand and Australia, where if you were seen within half a mile of a bottle of beer, you're in jail. And so I learned that he navigated his way around Fort Worth in his big Cadillac, balancing a gin. Gin and ice on the steering wheel. That's how he drove around. Okay.
Wow.
Not on his way to a sales call, though. I take it.
No. It was a lot different.
When they took the they took the can't drink and drive law out of effect. When they made the first change to the law changed from you could drink, you can't be intoxicated.
Right.
The next step was you could drink, but in order for a policeman to pull you over, He had to see you drink, which meant you could hold up your beer and say cheers, but you couldn't put it to your mouth.
Is that right? And how long ago was that?
That was maybe 15 years ago.
Yeah. Right.
And nowadays, that is not something you want to be doing.
Right.
No.
That is true. But things have changed. I remember actually the people I met in Dallas when I first arrived there, they really did measure a distance. How far is it to Waco? Oh, it was a 6-pack, okay? Or whatever it was. That's how many beers you drink on the way there.
That's a 3-beer ride.
It sounds, it was actually true. That's how people did do it.
Absolutely.
Well, times have changed, boys, and we can still enjoy our drives. We just do it in a different way. And down there in Texas way, it sounds like things are really heating up weather-wise and business-wise. So we like to hear that. And we sure do appreciate you sharing all these updates with business and NFDA, Tom, and also once again for being such a great fan and proponent of Fully Threaded. We really do appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to ask me to be on and push Texas a little bit and push our hopefully recovering economy despite what we're hearing in the news. So I'm excited. Our business is excited, and it's good to be in the fastener business today, in my opinion. So
good.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, Matty.
Tom Buddenbohn, partner of Technology Component Southwest and a membership chairman for the NFDA. Thanks again, Tom.
Thank you, guys.
It's almost time to ride off into the sunset, but it's entirely possible the ending will be pretty good, so stay with us. It's Fully Threaded. Hi everybody, Eric here. Brian and I have been talking a lot about big changes coming to the FCH sourcing network, and I hope you'll keep an eye on what we're doing. Soon, you'll see a new look and feel when you go to fastenersclearinghouse.com. But the real power of FCH is the network behind the website. And that's why we're inviting every company in the fastener industry to join the FCH sourcing network. FCH is used by hundreds of fastener and industrial companies every business day to search and source fasteners. Members are making sales on a continuous basis from inquiries flowing through the network. It's a stream of business that's growing all the time, and we hope you'll join in. That's why we'll soon announce a new membership level that will be available to every company in the fastener industry at no charge. We know you'll get the benefit, and so will the rest of the industry. To faithful FCH users who have been with us for years, we appreciate your participation, and we'll have some new features for you too. Thank you for helping us grow. Keep your eye on the FCH sourcing network and watch fastenersclearinghouse.com for details coming soon. Volt Industrial Plastics is the source for all your high-quality plastic fastener needs, and customer service is their #1 priority. With almost 1 million fasteners in stock and same-day shipping on stock items, Volt Industrial Plastics carries inventory so you don't have to. Volt manufactures everything in-house from over 125 different materials, and they're proud to say 100% of their products are American-made. And of course, custom tooling and in-house bagging is available. Contact Volt online at www.voltplastics.com. Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners.
Hi, this is Hugh Hewitt for the Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund, www.semperfifund.org. Over the past 7 years, twice a year, the wonderful people who operate the Semper Fi Fund and many amazing Marines who have been the beneficiaries of the charities that have supported the Semper Fi Fund, including many thousands of individual donors, have come into my radio studio to tell their amazing stories of serving their country, of being wounded, and how the Semper Fi Fund has helped them make that transition back to recovery. Unfortunately, Bethesda and Walter Reed are full again. again. More and more men and women are coming back from the war injured, sometimes awfully so. We need the Semper Fi Fund to be there for these Marines and those soldiers, sailors, and airmen who served alongside of them. Please consider a gift to the Semper Fi Fund. Very low overhead, extraordinary capacity to get money where it needs to get in a hurry, and great management, including some of the senior Marines who've ever served under the flag. When you're looking for something to do that will make an impact, please check out the Semper Fi Fund. That's www.semperfifund.org, www.semperfifund.org.
These guys aren't screwing around much. Brian and Eric, fully threaded radio, internet talk radio for the fastener industry.
Hi, this is Chris Dellis, Fastener Tool and Supply, Solon, Ohio. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you from the online fastener boogie machine.
Fully Threaded Radio.
Or maybe more appropriately today, we should have called it the online fastener Fandango. I mean, how much more Southwest could we have gotten today, I ask you?
Yeah, with Mike McNulty riding to town on his high horse telling us about the gold standard.
He loves that.
So, well, you know, we do have a story a little bit from the far west, but, you know, when we started off Fasteners Clearinghouse, Annixter sent us an upload that included a part that we could not really translate properly. It turned out to be a pin from a Gatling gun manufactured in the 1860s.
Oh, yeah, I remember that now. Wow.
I remember talking to the people I said, do you have any idea what this thing is? I said, this was last used in one of your cowboy movies.
Yeah, those guys are always good for the really weird parts. Every time they were on a real roll of buying out companies, and every time they would, we'd get another 10,000 lines of real weirdos, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, this was a beauty. This was. It's probably still in the database somewhere or other.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
And we mentioned at the top of the show the celebrity voice impersonation, and that was our friend J.R. Prawl. Hey, thanks, J.R., for that.
Thank you.
Did you get a kick out of that?
I did. You could be doing that instead of making comments to me about my wet phones.
Anything to avoid selling fasteners, right?
Right.
No.
Now, you know, I should say that when I was searching for solutions to this dead phone, I found a great little company called U-Break iFix that was started by a couple of students, high school students, and is now blossomed into like 14 locations. But basically, they specialize in fixing up broken smartphones, and they can be Androids or iPhones. And their deal is that if they can't fix it, you don't pay them anything. In my case, that was sort of unfortunate. I wanted it fixed, but they have a great service.
So you're saying that they were able to fix it, or they weren't?
No, they took it apart. They tried to do it. They tried placing batteries and things, and in the end they said, listen, that part of it's burnt out, and you're better off just take it back and replace it. But they have a really good, and you can FedEx the stuff to them if you don't happen to have. We had a location right here in Naperville, so I just went to see them. U-Break, just the letter U. U-Break iFix, really good service.
It was anticlimactic, Brian. Anticlimactic story, sorry.
Sorry. It was a ray of hope, what I needed, okay?
I guess it was a good story. And I hope, folks, you found today's episode full of good stories. And we thank everybody for listening in, and we thank our guests as well. And they were Don Haggerty of Stelfast, Marie Houghtailing of the Houghtailing Group, Tom Buddenbohn of Technology Components Southwest, and, of course, Mike McNulty with Fastener Technology International Magazine. We'd also like to thank today's title sponsor, Stelfast.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
You guys make it all possible. Hey, send us feedback anytime at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. Get with us via Twitter, and we're under the handle Fully Threaded. You can also add to our wall on the Facebook page, we'd be glad to see you out there. And also check out the links from the show that we'll post there.
And that's facebook.com/fullythreaded.
And we'll remind you again, if you're listening to the show from the webpage and just streaming it, that's great. We're glad to have you. You can also put the show on your smartphone or your iPod. And more people are doing that. We realize that there's probably not adequate instructions out there. And we do promise to come up with some instructions at some point to make that a little bit easier. But regardless of whether you have an iPhone or a BlackBerry, it can be done. And especially traveling people, salesmen and otherwise, are finding it to be a pretty good option. So we hope you'll jump in. On-demand media is here, folks.
Right. Actually, I had a couple of people I spoke to this week who needed a little bit of help on how to, subscribe to these things on their iPhones. And I went back and realized it wasn't entirely straightforward as it should be.
Right. It is a little bit, I'll say not obvious, but it's also not that complicated either. So, like I said, we will get some instructions out there for everybody. And thanks, no matter how you do, for listening in. Hey, wrapping up today, I guess this is slightly off the Southwest theme, although these places do occur all over the South, Southeast, and the Southwest. And I'm speaking of Waffle House, of course.
What? I thought you were going to say bars.
I knew it. But I'm not. I'm talking about Waffle House. And why am I discussing that? Because given the sub-theme of today's show being natural disasters, I was reading on the front page of the Wall Street Journal September 1st. You can go back and check out this story. Really pretty interesting. Headline, How to Measure a Storm's Fury One Breakfast at a Time. And describing that FEMA actually uses an unofficial kind of a bellwether for these storms called the Waffle House Index. So it starts out, when a hurricane makes landfall, the head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency relies on a couple of metrics to assess its destructive power. First, there's the well-known Stafford-Simpson wind scale. Then there is what he calls the Waffle House Index. Now check this out. Green means the restaurant is serving a full menu, a signal that the damage in the area is limited and the lights are on. Yellow means a limited menu, indicating power from a generator at best and low food supplies. Red means the restaurant is closed, a sign of severe damage in the area or unsafe conditions. So the story goes on to say that during Hurricane Irene, Waffle House lost power to 22 restaurants in North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware. But by Wednesday evening, all but one in hard-hit coastal Virginia were back in business.
Wow. I thought you were thinking of the Waffle House down from your parents' place in Tucson.
Well, it's always near and dear to my heart, but in this case, feeling for all these guys who are having all these problems with the flooding and the storms and that, and I guess now even with the fires, it's good to know you've got Waffle House to turn to in a pinch.
Right.
I thought it was also interesting that they pointed out that there are 1,600 Waffle House locations, give or take. And one of our favorite stores really blows that one out of the water. And, of course, I'm thinking about Fastener with about 2,800.
Right.
So what does that tell you?
Fasteners are more popular than waffles.
Exactly.
Right.
And how else would you expect us to conclude another fine episode of Fully Threaded Radio, I ask you?
Right. A completely logical deduction.
I agree. And with that, why don't we put this episode of Fully Threaded Radio in the books?
See you next episode, folks.
For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Thanks, as always, for listening in, and we'll talk to you next time. Adios, muchachos.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.
I can't think of anything else to say at the moment, okay?